Welcome into the Early Edge powered by Sportsline. I am your host, Alan Bell. We are going to take the next hour and go through, get you ready for Monday Night Football, all prepared so that we can hit this Lions at Packers game accurately, get our bets in, crush our props, make some money, and be on our way to NFL Week 3. You guys know the rules. Make sure to smash that like button. We want to make sure that we give away as many items as we can. And look, here's the deal. So we got a hold of Coach's expense account again. We're going to give away Sportsline year-long subs for every 100 likes that we get on the show. And if we get 500 likes, we're going to give away Early Edge t-shirts and gear beyond that. So that is our goal. Let's get to 500. And honestly, let's make Coach have to get nervous about seeing that expense account tomorrow morning. So we're going to go through, like we said, the next hour, and we're going to go through this entire game, up and down, props, bets, spreads, totals, you name it. Let's bring in the stars of the show. Let's get our guys going. See ya, M Squared. Two good-looking guys. Good to see you guys. See ya. You ready for a good game tonight?
So many storylines. I mean, it's not just on the Aaron Rodgers side of it. I think there's some storylines in Detroit with biting kneecaps and the coaching staff and Anthony Lynn being the OC over there. I think this is a really, really interesting game. I cannot wait to watch it.
If there's anybody that loves to talk about biting kneecaps, especially in the DFS arena, it's our man M Squared. Good to see you, buddy. What's good?
Not much, man. Just locking in these lineups for tonight. Love this showdown slate. I think it's going to be a really fun game, despite the 12 to 12.5 point spread we're seeing. I think it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great game, too. And right before we get into the storylines that affect the betting lines tonight, I do want to bring up something. We have, and I say we, a collective betting environment. There is a bettor out there with a $726,000 parlay that this person hit all 15 money lines this week, which in and of itself is insanity. Okay, so digging deeper, this person needs Lions money line tonight to win $726,000. Here's the thing, though. It was used as a free bet for signing up with BetMGM, so there's no cash out option. Okay, so what I bring up to you guys is this, M Squared, I want you to hit it. You are a numbers guy. How do you go about hedging this if this were you?
You call every person you know that you can trust remotely. You try to round up about $600,000 because that's what you're going to have to risk to profit about $100K on this as the Packers money line, about minus 600. But that's really the only way you can hedge. At that money line at minus 600, you're going to need to have, I mean, that's the only way that I would be comfortable hedging with it. So it sucks for them that there's no cash out option. I guess they're just the biggest Lions in the world tonight.
I'll tell you what, I would pay money for a camera on this person at the game. And see, this is the question I ask you, and I put it in the chat. All right, everyone, make sure that you put yourself in this spot. This is you. How do you go about watching this game? Do you watch it alone? Do you watch it with friends? Did you even go to work this morning? Like, how did you go about this day knowing that there's $726,000 on the line and you need the Lions to beat the Packers on the road?
Oh, I definitely watch this by myself. Nobody can match my intensity watching football in general. Add to that 700 and some change $1,000 on the line, no chance. That is I'm watching it by myself. It's so unfortunate that this is the last leg of such a big parlay because of that. The money line play is just so prohibitive in terms of hedging your bet. It would be nice if it was let's say the Kansas City Ravens game last night. If that was your last leg, now you can hedge, you can throw something on the money line and you don't have to borrow money from a big bank, because that's what you're going to have to do, frankly, to be able to hedge yourself properly here.
Brennan Work in the chat here says, I wouldn't sit down the entire game pacing around the living room all night. Look, this is absolutely the same way that I would be, right? There would be no way that I would be a normal functioning human being. The phone would be in the yard. Like, I would throw this thing and get it out of here. I can't talk to anyone. It would be you guys. Like, you guys would be the only ones, because I think that you would just be more in like crisis intervention mode of just calming me down. But yeah, there's no way that I would be a normal human being during this game. Now, let's get into the storylines for the rest of us. Yeah, Mike, did you have something?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to mention that there. I'm obviously never recommending that you make a 14 or 15 leg moneyline parlay. However, if you are going to make bets like this and you know that they are spaced out over more than an 8-hour period, do yourself a favor and make sure that the final leg of the parlay is the favorite. So you have the opportunity to potentially hedge, because in many situations like this, if it's even at minus 300, you're going to have to scrape together a ton of cash to be able to try and hedge out of that. And it's likely not feasible for the majority of people out there. So just something to consider if you're throwing money around and betting a 10, 12, whatever game parlay. Make sure the last leg, if it's definitively on the next day, make sure that thing's a favorite, not an underdog.
See, I wish I could just hire M Squared, right? To just follow me around like in all of my things that I do during the day and say, all right, what's the best play of action here? Like, what time should I go to the grocery store? What time is this the best to hit it? I feel like he's got answers on all of it. All right, let's get into the storylines that are going to affect this game tonight. M Squared, I'm going to stay with you, buddy. You've got two players you've got your eyes on tonight. Who you got?
Yeah, super interesting and kind of a sad story here, obviously, but Amon-Ra St. Brown. Equanimeous St. Brown, we know that he has been a member of the Packers for a while. He got cut this year, then they re-signed him to the practice squad. What's interesting tonight is they have promoted him to the active roster for this game because he is facing his younger brother, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is also going to have additional playing time tonight for the Lions with Tyrell Williams going down there. Why it's interesting, it's obviously a family affair, a family of athletes. They have a third brother who was also a wide receiver, I believe, in the Pac-12. So they had an aunt that passed away less than a month ago, which was on their mother's birthday. And the whole family is getting together to come to this game today in Green Bay. It's an absolute shock. There's actually a nice article written about it that was written from the perspective that Equanimeous St. Brown obviously wasn't going to be active, so he was going to be watching with the family in the stands. Now he's going to be active and on the field for the Green Bay Packers. Just something to keep an eye on. It tells me that because the game script is like this at 12, they might put Equanimeous St. Brown out there for a few snaps if it's out of hand at all. He's someone who's only $200 on DraftKings on the daily fantasy slate. Definitely something to consider. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, those player props are juiced up already from where some people might think they should be. But I definitely think that this is the event for this family. And I think they're going to take it very seriously tonight.
Yeah, that is something to keep an eye on. Everybody, make sure to get your Twitter handles in the chat. We're going to give away a free sub, so we want to be able to hit those. We've already at 153 likes. Let's go ahead and get to 200, but get those Twitter handles in there right now so that the jeweler can choose a winner, and we can find another winner here in just a little bit. Sia, what are you looking at in the game tonight?
I am so curious how this game is going to play out, and that's such a generic statement, but here's why. I think that the Detroit Lions have an offensive line that people aren't really appreciating. And I know we didn't really see it against San Francisco last week, but they really have upgraded. They got Penei Sewell with the 7th overall pick. And just side note there, that is the pick that the Miami Dolphins should have made and the Cincinnati Bengals, but they're the Dolphins and the Bengals, so they didn't make that pick. But the Lions have the luxury there, but they also have a really good left tackle, or I should say right tackle, and center. Like, this is a pretty stout offensive line, at least relative to what a lot of people think. So what I'm really curious to see is if the Lions can slow this game down and just feed it to Jamal, feed it to DeAndre Swift, feed it to Hawkinson, just these short area passes, which we know Jared Goff can do. If he can do that, if they can accomplish that, and I have to assume that's the game plan, to milk the clock, keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and I think they can potentially successfully do that over 3 or 4 quarters. If that happens, it really flips this game on its head, because I think then you're looking at maybe under possibilities. You're looking at the Lions covering maybe in an easier way than people would think. Now, I keep saying if, right, Alan, because they might not be able to accomplish that. So I'm just really curious how this ends up playing out, because absolutely you could have a dominant victory by Green Bay coming off such an embarrassing 38-3 loss with the New Orleans Saints. But I have a feeling that Detroit is coming to play with the right game plan, and I think they're going to do better than some people think.
You know, I want to break that down, because I want to take a look at this game. There's so many different storylines of how we can go about and what we're going to see that are going to affect, spread bets, total bets, prop bets, everything. Before we do that, we have our first winner for tonight. Justin Ross at AV865R. 865, is that Knoxville area code there? Congratulations, Justin Ross. You are our first winner. We are going to get to 200 likes here shortly. We're at 180 right now. Smash that button. Let's get there. Let's give another one away. Okay, so let's jump right into it. All right, so this game, let's just look at it from just what we expect to see tonight. and what we saw in week 1. The Packers, horrible. All right. They get smashed 38-3 by the Saints. The Lions lose to the 49ers. The score looked better than what it was, but they did put up points in that game. So we've got the Packers at 11.5-point favorite, over under 49. Now, that total opened at 48. It sat at 48.5 pretty much all week and through the weekend. It just creeped to 49 about an hour ago. What do we think we're going to see? Let's just start with the Packers. Are they going to be back? Is it going to be normal Packers, offense that we see today? I'm not even talking about the defense. Like, the Packers are Aaron Rodgers, these wide receivers, running backs. M Squared, I'll start with you. Are we seeing a normal Aaron Rodgers offense tonight?
I definitely think so. I think that this is a massive, massive bounce back spot for him, statement spot for him. They got to come out here and play well, and I think they will. That's what he needs. He needs the prime time environment. He needs the home crowd. He needs the center stage. All eyes on Aaron Rodgers tonight. Frankly, if you're a player in the NFL, you're watching this game tonight. You're very curious what is going on with Aaron Rodgers. Like, everyone is watching this game. So yes, I think that the Packers are right back to the level that we expect from them, and I think that. We see it with Tom Brady a little bit. We wonder if Brady's pushing for that MVP award potentially this year. I think when they're in the red zone, I think it's going to be a lot of passing from Aaron Rodgers. I think he makes a statement tonight with a huge game.
Aaron Rodgers has won 7 straight games on Monday Night Football. See it. Does he make it 8?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're definitely winning the game. I don't think the Lions really have a shot to win this thing. I think if it was at Detroit, I may leave a little bit of room for Detroit pulling this thing out. But to me, the only question is, do they cover? And I think it's a really close call. I mean, I think you could go either way on that one and have a really good argument behind it. But it's definitely a bounce back spot. I mean, you could kind of explain away a little bit of week 1 for obvious reasons, right? Aaron Rodgers, he wasn't really in camp at all. He had no preseason, and then boom, he just shows up week 1 and he's expected to be Aaron Rodgers. Well, that's not how it works. And it's especially not how it works when, you're kind of getting older. And by the way, your center, Corey Linsley, he's gone. David Bakhtiari, maybe the best left tackle or top 5 left tackle in the league, he's out because he's injured. So they've got some pieces that are shifting around, and you have no training camp and you have no preseason. It makes sense that he looked that poorly against the New Orleans Saints, but can he bounce back this quick? So did he just need 1 game under his belt? I think that's the question. He's definitely bouncing back. It's just a matter of the extent to which he's bouncing back.
Well, you bring up another good question right there. And first, let's pause. We've got another winner. Congratulations to Stephen Edge at Edge_NHD. We certainly like the edge in there. Nice job. We are all about, if you put no, I'm kidding. Your last name's probably Edge. Like, we're not saying that you named yourself after the show, but congratulations regardless. And Justin Rossi says it is Knoxville. Go Vols. I thought so. You don't really see 865 unless you're talking about Knoxville. So, yeah, man, nice job. Nice job. Well, both of you, welcome to the Sports Line team. And, if you have any questions about how to use the app, how to use the site, hit us up on Twitter. We've got some nice videos on YouTube as well. Welcome to the team. Congratulations. Now, let's talk about this total, okay? So, it's at 49. Is that a key number there? What is that, 7 touchdowns? All right. I feel like we all think we know what we're going to get out of the Packers offense, okay? Their floor is probably what, 27 to 30 points? Maybe 24 to 30, somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. Their ceiling could be whatever it is. If they wanted to go out and score 80, just to prove a point, if Aaron Rodgers were that upset and petty, the guy could certainly do it. He could do it, pretty much on anybody he wants. I don't know what we're going to get out of the Lions. Because, see, as you said, and I'm going to throw it to you here, the Lions are a better team than people give them credit for. Jared Goff is not a bad quarterback in this league. Like, we're not talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars here. Now, I know the Lions aren't going to win a Super Bowl, but they're not horrible. So where do you see this total? Like, how do you feel about it just in general?
So on one hand, you could say, well, the Lions are in a really tough spot because they have no weapons on the outside. And I'm not trying to disrespect the people who are there, but most, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, for example, this is a young receiver. I don't think it's a receiver that Goff is really going to be relying on the outside. So, and of course, Terrell Williams is injured for this game. So they're in a tough spot in terms of like getting the ball down the field. So I think you're going to see a lot of the Jared Goff classic, like dink and dunk. The question for me, though, and I think they'll do that somewhat successfully, by the way, And I think they'll probably operate from Jameis Winston's game plan last week. I mean, I think they can accomplish some of those same things. If you recall, Jameis Winston was lighting the world on fire with 5 touchdowns, but he wasn't exactly throwing the ball down the field. So, I think Goff can accomplish some of those things. The problem with the Lions really is the back end, and I think this maybe plays into the over narrative. Jeff Okudah is out. He's got a bad injury, unfortunately. This was already a secondary that wasn't very good. So I think Aaron Rodgers has the opportunity to take a lot of shots here. And as far as the over is concerned, I think if this game does get out of hand, I think the over comes in easily because we know what the Lions can do when they're down 28 points like they were last week to San Francisco. It's just dink and dunk and just matriculate the ball down the field and you end up scoring. Even if they don't get some of those lucky bounces with, onside and things of that nature, they still probably put up 14, 21 points against San Francisco in pure garbage time. So that's why if you like the Green Bay narrative that they're bouncing back and they're going to crush it, then I think the over plays into that quite well.
All right, mid-square, before I get to you, everyone in the chat, what do you think about the total tonight? Do you like the over? Do you like the under? What do you think about the Lions offense? Put it in the chat. Let's talk about it. We want to get to 500 likes. We're at 250 right now. We're almost to 300. We'll give away another sub. And like we said, if we get to 500, we're really going to start hurting coaches' expense accounts, start giving away merch, T-shirts, gear, things like that. Now, M-squared, going off what Sia was just saying, all right, the Lions have allowed 30-plus points in 7 straight games. Okay, but we're not going to talk about the Lions' defense just yet. Talk about the Lions' offense. What do you see out of it tonight?
Yeah, no, I think that everyone, see, it was pretty much dead on there. I think that they're going to struggle with the wide receivers. I think they're going to try and take away Hawkinson as much as they possibly can because they know that that's where the targets are going to be concentrated. They're going to be fine with dumping the ball to the running backs. I think they're going to try to contain that a lot. But frankly, they're going to make Jared Goff throw the football down the field if they want to win this game. So I do have some interest in some of those wide receivers, but I do think that the focus will be trying to eliminate Hawkinson. I don't know if they're even going to be able to. And I think as far as like his yardage props, things like that, if this game gets out of hand at all, I think that he's going to easily crush those numbers. And I do lean towards the over in this game because I think that's exactly what happens. I think at some point in this game, Packers could be up by as much as 17. And then I think it becomes a lot more bend, don't break. And I think we see a lot of short passes. They'll move the ball down the field a little bit. Drives will stall, but they will rack up yardage.
All right. Well, let's use this to kind of focus on player props, players that we like in this game. And we're not going to break down each, one just yet. We're going to do that for sure. But I just want to kind of get an idea, a pool, so to say, of players that we think, could have big nights. So, M Squared, I'll stay with you on this one. All right. So let's say the Packers defense does focus on Hawkinson. Okay. Their goal is to take him out of the game. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that that's what their goal is.
Yep.
Where do the Lions go? Right? Like, where does Jared Goff go in the passing game? What does the run game look like in terms of carries? If that's the plan to take out Hawk, how do the Lions go about scoring?
I mean, I think you look as, back to last week, I think a lot of passes are going to be concentrated. They're going to be short passes to the running backs out of the backfield. You're going to see a lot of rotation between Swift and Jamal Williams, but they're both going to be targeted pretty heavily in this, especially if it gets to the point where they start to trail by 10 plus points, which I think we all kind of think that they will at some point here. So I think it's going to be a lot of that. And then I do think that they'll take shots, and I think Amon St. Brown will be someone that will get some of the looks. But overall, I think it's going to be force-feeding Hawkinson, which might lead to some turnovers, which might lead to just incomplete passes. And then there's going to be a lot of pressure. He's going to be checking down to those running backs a lot tonight.
See, I'm going to give you your answer here in 1 second. We are at 300 likes here. Our next sub giveaway is Fayez Z at Fayette TEJ. That one is a little more difficult. I'm good more with numbers than I am with consonants in there, but congratulations. Welcome to the Sportsline team. Now let's get to 400 likes so that we could get to 500 and we can start giving away some merch, some gear, more Sportsline subs. We want to give away as much as possible. I really want Coach to send me a text later on that says, what in the hell did you give out? I think my paycheck has been decreased by about half. That's our goal for tonight. Now, see ya. Okay, going off what M Squared just said. All right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Who do you see in the Lions? Who do you see in the Lions offense? And then we're going to flip it to the Packers, but go first with Detroit.
I definitely agree with Mike that Jamal Williams and Deandre Swift, just like last week, are going to be featured. And if you all don't recall, those of you that are listening, these guys were heavily targeted. So not only were they getting basically an equal share with respect to rushing attempts, but targets as well. I mean, Deandre Swift alone, he had, I believe, 11 rushing attempts and 11 targets, and he caught a majority of those. So, and Jamal Williams, kind of the same stat line. So I think it's really important to understand that they are going to be really, really involved. It's going to be check down city from Jared Goff. It's going to, I think ball control is going to be a very important concept for the Lions. They will try to force feed Hockenson. And I agree that obviously the Packers, I mean, it's not like they're blind to that, right? They're going to try to take that option away. So that'll be really interesting. I can almost guarantee Goff force feeding Hockenson, one too many times and he gets picked off. But another thing I think that's really interesting is obviously, Anthony Lynn and company, they're coming in knowing what Green Bay is going to want to stop. They know the narrative about Jared Goff in terms of, quote, noodle arm, whatever you want to call him. His air yards rate the last few years, it's not impressive at all. It's basically bottom in the league as far as starters are concerned. I do think he's going to take a couple shots early to maybe back up the defense a little bit. So I think Quintez Cephas, Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think they're definitely in play early. Like I'm not going to call either of them for a first touchdown necessarily, but I do expect Jared Goff to take some shots early in the game, and it wouldn't shock me if he connected on one or two of them.
I am so fascinated to watch this game. I think that there are so many different ways that this can go about. I thought you brought up a good point. If Dan Campbell and the Lions try to take away the Packers offense and slow this game down, just kind of the chess match in between this. So I was going through the numbers of division games so far this season. Okay. We've had 7 games through weeks 1 and 2 that feature division games. You want to know an interesting stat? All 7 of them, the final points, like both points, scored by both teams, was double digits off from where the closing total was. All 7.
Wow.
Yeah. And think about this. When the home team covered, the over is 3-1. When the road team covered, the under is 3-0. Now, I'm just saying that's more of like a correlation of kind of game script. It makes sense. But 7 of the games having, totals that were off by double digits. Usually division games seem like they're easier to cap. Just because you kind of understand where both of these teams are and you have a history. But so far, we've seen 2 games that were 1 points. We've seen a lot of blowouts, and we've seen points go high, points go low. It seems like if there's any area where bookmakers don't really know where to go yet, it's these totals, right? So I'm fascinated to see what the Lions offense looks like, because I think that, honestly, that is where this game is going to be. So, see, I'm going to leave it with you, okay? Let's look at these quarterbacks real quick. Mm-hmm. All right. We have, and the numbers might have moved a little bit. Last I saw right before the show, I think the over-under on yardage for Jared Goff was around 233.5, I believe. Check me if I'm wrong there. I think that's around what it was. Maybe 253. Somebody will have to check on that. Jeweler, check on that. See if you can look at it. I think Aaron Rodgers got into the 280 area. I know that it was 275.5 there for a little while. But just thoughts in general here. See, I'll leave it with you.
Yeah, it's
Where
interesting.
do you see both these guys?
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just, you got it.
No, it's interesting because I'm looking at Jared Goff's prop now, and I'm pretty sure it was 250 something a couple hours ago when I checked. It looks like it's gone up, which would be consistent with the over going up. It looks like it's gone up to 264.5, which is
wow,
a lot higher than I remember it being a couple hours ago. And then Aaron Rodgers is 289.5. Wow, that's a tough one, because again, it depends on what game script like you're going with. I probably like the under for Jared Goff. As far as Aaron Rodgers is concerned, I think I like the under there as well, which doesn't really sound super consistent with an over coming in. If I was going to take an over on either of these guys, it would be Aaron Rodgers over Jared Goff, because I think the game plan with Goff will be to just slow it down, run the ball the best they can, and a lot of check downs. So that's where I see that going. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, there's just no telling. But in my opinion, the overplay would be with Aaron, not with Jared Goff.
So these numbers are both moving up, like you just said. And I want to holler out Walter Rogers Jr. here. He says, I like the over tonight, Alan. I do think the Lions have an underrated offense, but Green Bay wins the game. If Green Bay loses the game, there's going to be a lot of finger pointing going on. All right. I agree with that completely. I went and looked. The last 3 losses by the Packers under Matt LaFleur, all 3 were last year. Okay. In every single one of them, the Packers came back by scoring 30 or more points. All right. I think all three games were at least 40. No, all three games were at least 53, 54 points. Two of them went into the 60s. So historically, even though we're looking at, only 2 years under Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, they bounced back nicely, and these were blowouts. Aaron Rodgers even said, after last week's blowout to New Orleans, that they've gone through blowouts before. He wasn't that concerned about it. So I'm with you, Sia. I think that Aaron Rodgers going over, I'm with you on that. And everyone, please put in the chat what you think is going to happen tonight, whether it's a spread, total, player props, what we're talking about right here. Would you go over or under on Aaron? Would you go over and under on Jared Goff? So M squared, I throw the same question to you. You see those numbers there. Where are you going with Aaron? Where are you going with Goff?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've actually got all my numbers in front of me tonight, so I'll be able to pull them up for everyone. Got the DFS lineups locked in early, so we're good to go. But Jared Goff. So I have a considerable edge on this one. Now I have him at 241. In the model, we're looking at 20 yards, which 20 yards on a QB total isn't necessarily the same edge as obviously 20 yards on a receiver prop total that's high. However, it still is a meaningful edge. So I would lean towards the under on Jared Goff. And then as far as Aaron Rodgers, I've got him at 282. Right there, that one's super efficient. I think that it's very consistent with what we see on any NFL game like this, frankly. And that number is going to get shaded towards the over the closer we get to kickoff on game day. So I'm not touching the Aaron Rodgers one. I would lean on the under on Goff. And then my comment would be for both of them is I think that there are 4 very talented, very capable running backs in this game that can definitely eat up yardage on the ground. I also think that between these two teams, we know it's, these division game like this, like I think there's going to be some penalties, right? Those definitely kill overs for quarterbacks as well. We saw it happen in the Cowboys game yesterday. Penalty yards just absolutely kill totals for QB yards. So I would lean towards the under on Goff, and I'm slight lean on the under on Rodgers, but I would not touch it.
So let me say this to the chat really quickly. We have 668 people watching live right now. Okay. I want every single person to hit the like button. If you do, I'll give away an extra Sportsline year-long sub right now. But we're going to see the numbers. So if everybody will smash that like button right now, I'll give away another one. And again, it's going to be on Coach. So just wait for Twitter. He'll scream at me. It'll be kind of funny. All right. So I want to bring up a comment here in the chat. And let me pull it up here on the screen because I think it's a good one. All right. Our man Michael Winslow says, please talk about this. Who'll be the first person to score a touchdown? Okay. You know what? We're going to do this in about 10 minutes, but let's space it out because we got a lot of fun things to talk about. We still got plenty of time here. All right. Sia, I'm going to go to you. Who scores the first touchdown tonight?
I mean, so a couple things. I'll give you two guys that I have here, and they're kind of narrative-y. If you recall, I hit last week's with Tyson Williams, but that was kind of less narrative, more just I guess I kind of believed in the pick more. But I do want to point out that Equanimeous St. Brown and Amon-Ra St. Brown, from a narrative standpoint, I mean, wow. I mean, Equanimeous probably won't be in the game that early to get that first touchdown, but you never know. I mean, Aaron Rodgers can pull whatever card he wants and get him on the field, I suppose. So I think those are interesting. I noticed that Equanimeous was 80-1 and Amon-Ra was 22-1 for first touchdown. I'm just throwing that out there. It's not my pick. The two picks are actually Green Bay Packers, which makes sense, right? Randall Cobb and A.J. Dillon. And the reason I said, now, Cobb didn't have many targets last week. I think he had one catch, but not many people really on the Packers had a lot of targets. Devonte Adams and Marcus Valdez Scantling were really the only ones that had, more than 3 or 4 targets. So I think Randall Cobb is interesting because we talked about this spot for Aaron Rodgers, how perfect it is, right? So not only are you going up against a bad secondary without its, most talented cornerback in Jeff Okudah, but you're on Monday night and you got embarrassed last week. And it's just a perfect setup for him. And so I think it would be interesting if with that perfect setup, he fed the guy that he kind of brought over to Green Bay, or I should say brought back to Green Bay. And that's Randall Cobb. So in spite of a lack of targets last week, he lines up in the slot. I could see when they're in that short area and let's say it's, the 7-8 yard line, 10-yard line, I could see Randall Cobb being the first read. And at 18-1, I think that's interesting. The other guy, speaking of narratives, in my opinion, and in most people's opinion, Matt LaFleur and company really messed up their first and second round pick last year. Not in 2021, but in 2020 by drafting Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon to a team that was probably 1 or 2 players away from not just being in the Super Bowl, but maybe winning the Super Bowl. Those two guys really didn't see the field that much, right? AJ Dillon is now seeing the field a little bit more. And I think it would be very interesting for Matt LaFleur to kind of assert sort of his fingerprint on this game and on the 2020 draft by feeding AJ Dillon near the goal line and not Aaron Jones. So he is also 18-1. Those are the two guys I have. I like the value there at 18-1 for each of them.
Beautiful. And, Aaron Rodgers is that kind of guy. Speaking of Randall Cobb, he likes who he likes, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it doesn't matter if, you're a rookie or you're a guy who's been around him for 20 years. Like, if he likes you, he's going to get you the ball. So that's a sneaky good play there. Everyone, we are at 375 likes. Let's get to 400. Let's do that. We are so close to getting away merch, all kinds of gear, t-shirts, you name it. We want to call out our next winner, Jason Chambers at Big Jake 1022. And he likes the pack and the over. I'm with you on that one. All right, M Squared, same question over to you, buddy. Who do you like? First touchdown.
Yeah, I tweeted it out today with a little video, but I think it's going to be Marquez Valdez Scantling. I like him in this spot quite a bit. I think it is going to be a deep ball that's going to get the first touchdown in this game for them. I think they're going to come out taking a few deep shots down the field. So that's one I like the most. Currently sitting at 1,200 plus 1,200. That's what I'd be on. If you don't like that one, I think it would be a combination of still on the Green Bay side, but I don't think it'll be Devonte Adams or Aaron Jones. I would look at Robert Tonyan. I would look at Mercedes Lewis, 3,500 on that one. So I'm going Packers receiver, and I'm going non-goal line touchdown, which would favor Devonte and Aaron Jones. So I'm looking for 10 plus yards on the first touchdown.
I like it. And first, I love the comment that we just had on the screen. Jeweler, if you've got that, if you could pull that back up, that said, whatever Mike says, I'm tailing him. He smashed the last three of them. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, that's the funny thing is that everyone here at Sportsline, we do the exact same thing. We're like, all right, M Squared's got this. Prop Stars has this. Like, yeah. Like, I'm telling you, we ride them too. See, I thought you brought up a good point. And Mike, I thought you brought up a good point. They both kind of correlate together that there could be penalties tonight. Right. And if there are, how does that affect the game? Look, I'm going to go with Aaron Jones plus 450. I know it's a chalk play, but I could totally see the most Aaron Rodgers move ever is when he throws deep. Receiver doesn't catch the ball, but they get the flag and it brings them right around 7, 6, 5, the 2. Right. Like I could see that happening. And then Aaron Jones just gets the ball. It might be his first carry of the game. Right. But I see those things happening with Green Bay so much. So I'm going to go Aaron Jones chalk on this one just to play it. But yeah, go ahead. What you got?
Well, I just want to add that if Matt LaFleur sends in the play and it's a handoff to AJ Dillon, he's checking out of it and passing to Randall Cobb. I can promise you that.
See, Aaron Rodgers is so good. I would love to see like the game inside the game where he's doing that. We heard Peyton Manning on the Monday Night Football, the ESPN broadcast, talk about how when quarterbacks want to call their own plays, they have to act like the helmet mic is out. And you're going to get the equipment guys in trouble when it's not out whatsoever. Like that, you have to be a veteran to be able to pull that move off. But Aaron's done it. Like that would be fantastic. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're brand new here into the show, the Early Edge powered by Sportsline, we want to break down every single bet, everything that you need for this game tonight. Also, we want to give away subscriptions to our site year long. So we're going to do it at every 100 like interval. We're trying to get to 400 right now. Everybody in the chat, please smash that like button. Even if you already have a subscription, do it. Pay it forward, okay? We always talk about karma. There's nothing more important in sports betting than good karma because it is hard to do out here. We would all like a little bit of karma. So if you can get a free subscription to someone else, trust me, that comes back to you in spades. All right, so we talked about player props a little bit. We're going to get into it more here in just a minute. We talked about first touchdown. Let's just jump into the spread of the total. All right, I want to do this right now. So we've got a spread of 11.5. We've got a total that's creeping up even more. We talked, it was 49 at the beginning of the show. I saw in the chat, I think it's already up to 49.5. So let's just talk about where we lean. All right, M Squared, I'm going to go with you. Where do you sit spread? Where do you sit total?
I think the spread's incredibly efficient. I'm not touching that, but I would lean towards the total if I had to play it. And then per usual, be looking for in-game opportunities. on both. And then hopefully, the beauty of the NFL is we hope that the market is efficient. And I just told you that I think it is. So if you had the interest in doing it, I would definitely tease the Packers down and the total down, and have that play together. I think that that's probably the way that I would prefer to attack the total or the spread in this one. If you're not just going to simply take the over, which is where I lean. The game script that I'm looking for here is the Lions try to take the air out of the ball and kill the clock early. The problem is they fall down by 2 touchdowns, and at that point they have no choice. And I think as this game gets extended, the total goes over.
Everyone in the chat, please make sure, put in your Twitter handles. We want to continue to give away these subscriptions. We're going to get the t-shirts here at 500. Make sure you get your Twitter handles in there and let us know. Are you taking over, under, Packers spread, Lions spread? See ya. I just asked the chat, and I'm going to ask you. Where do you sit?
So, I'll say this. I think this is a game to probably bet props more than it is the spread, because I agree with Mike that it is very efficient. And it's funny because that stat you gave out about the division games through 2 weeks, you could almost just do 2 different parlays. And because of the game script I anticipate and the stat you said, Alan, or the stat that you mentioned to all of us, I think that would make sense to maybe take Detroit and the under, with a completely separate parlay with the Packers and the over. Because I actually think from a game script standpoint, if the Packers roll, the garbage time points that Detroit's going to accumulate, it's going to hit the over. And I think the opposite is true. If Detroit covers, I really think the under comes in here, because that means they established the run, they established the short to intermediate passing game, and they just basically milked the clock and kept the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, at least, for some time. So I don't really love any of them straight up. I think if I had to take it, I'd take the Lions plus 12, and I would probably take the under, because I kind of want to fade what I think is a public play here, and just assuming that, hey, Aaron Rodgers, it's his time to roll. It's going to be business as usual for him.
Oh, it's definitely a public play. I've seen multiple, sportsbook representatives talk today as we've gotten closer, saying that they need the Lions in the under, because the public is coming more and more on the Packers and the over. We see it with the, with the total that's moving up. The line, it moved up, days ago. But I would be surprised, if it gets close. All right, real quick. All right, we have a winner for 400 likes. Our man Hunter at HUN7AR. Congratulations. Welcome to the Sportsline team. Now we are at the most important part, because we are 100 away from getting to 500, and we don't give away merch and gear too often on here. So let's give this out. All right. And look, I'll tell you what, hit those likes, pay that karma forward. While we do it, we had a YouTube poll here where you guys sit on the over, on the under. 69% on the over, 49. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a public play here. All right. Here's a question. Drew Campbell in the chat. Let me put this on here before we get to some more bets. Well, actually, this is a bet too. And I actually kind of like this one. All right. Drew Campbell asked, first half Packers -7. Now, we were talking before the show. I went back and looked again last year at the 3 regular season losses with the Packers under Matt LaFleur. Okay. They all came back. The Packers came back the next week and scored 30-plus points in each one of them. Okay. Go back and look at the first half, just the box scores. Okay. Those 3 games, they scored 7, 7, 6. Second quarter, they scored 14, 14, 21. It's almost been formulaic. So the question again comes to the Lions, right? Like, what do we see out of their offense for the full game? We just talked about that. But see, I'm going to throw it back to you. What do you think about the Packers first half -7? What do you think? It's basically, again, it's the Lions offense. Like, do they keep pace? What do you think happens in this first half?
So if you like the Packers, I think the first half bet is probably better than the overall spread. Because I think you have a really realistic backdoor cover opportunity by Jared Goff and company if if the Packers are up 17, 14 points, something like that. So I actually don't mind Green Bay's at home. Green Bay -7 first half. I think I kind of like that, actually. If I was going to take a line here, it wouldn't be the full line. It would be the first half line.
In squared, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's a lot of points still in the NFL. It's just a lot of points to cover. I tell you what I would like. If you like that bet, I would also urge you to maybe consider the over 9.5 in the first quarter. If you think that, you're likely thinking the Packers come out firing, come out with a really hot start. I tend to think that I would rather have the over 9.5 in the first quarter. I think there's very little doubt that they score a touchdown on their first or second drive of this game. There's also a very high probability that the Lions are looking at a 3-and-out. So I think there's a really, really strong probability that the Packers have 2 full, really good possessions in this first quarter. If they don't, it's because the Lions move the football and get in field goal range. So I like the over 9.5 in the first quarter better.
All right, we are 50 likes away from 500. We want to give away this merch. Everyone, please smash that like button, hit it. Let's get to it so we can get to 600 and give away another one, right? Like, that's what we want to do. We're not just going to give away one. We know everybody wants a t-shirt. I want a t-shirt too, right? So let's give away. Let's get there. Hit that like button. Let's get to 500. Okay, so let's start getting to picks, because it's 7:43 Eastern. All right, we're getting down to it. We're getting close here. We definitely want to make sure that we give everyone enough time to get these picks in. So let's just jump into props. Props that we like for the game. It could be player props, could be team props, could be anything. See, I'm going to throw it to you first. What all props do you like in this game tonight?
So there's 3 that I'm sort of focused on. I'll probably start with my favorite here. And it's a guy that Mike brought up, I believe, as a first touchdown, one of his 2 first touchdown guys. It's Marquez Valdez Scantling. So his prop for receiving yards is 38.5 yards. He led the team in targets last week with 8 targets. He only caught 3 of them, which is classic Marquez Valdez Scantling, if we're being honest. 3 for 17, which isn't great, but you're also facing a much worse secondary here. So if we can kind of build in the targets, I think the catch rate is going to be better. And I think you're going to see him downfield because, listen, there's a lot that Detroit has to account for with respect to the running game, Devonte Adams. I would expect Devonte Adams to command a lot of coverage, maybe some of that Tyreek Hill treatment that we saw yesterday. So on play action, for example, I mean, just like Mike was kind of pointing out for the first touchdown, I could really see Marquez Valdez Scantling getting loose. And so I think 38.5, I think that's one catch, frankly. And so I don't mind. I like that quite a bit. In terms of like actual receptions, probably not. But in terms of the receiving yards, 38.5, I like it quite a bit. The other 2 I like, I'll start with Deandre Swift, over 72.5 rushing and receiving yards. So we know he's basically splitting with Jamal Williams, but it's probably going to be more like a 60-40 split in terms of receiving and rushing. So again, the way they're going to move the ball down the field, it's not with the guys on the outside. It's going to be with Hockenson, and it's going to be with Jamal Williams and Deandre Swift. Deandre Swift proved himself last week in these regards with respect to rushing and receiving. We talked about how many targets he got, how many catches he had. So I think that's a reasonable number at 72.5, especially if you're talking some garbage time, because he will be included in garbage time as well. And then speaking of, TJ Hockenson, over 56.5 yards. Now, this number's probably moved a little bit. So I don't really love it even at 56.5, because I probably could have gotten it. I don't know what it was yesterday, for example, or last night, but it was probably in the 52 range is my guess. People are going to take that because of what they saw with TJ Hockenson last week. But let's remember, Detroit has over 300 vacated targets relative to last year because Marvin Jones is gone. Kenny Golladay is gone. Danny Amendola is gone. The list goes on and on. I mean, Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Hall. There's actually a couple tight ends I left out there in terms of the receivers and running backs. So all those targets are going to, this entire season, are going to get soaked up by TJ Hockenson and the running backs for the most part. The receivers will be integrated in there, but not to the extent that the running backs and tight ends will. So even if Hockenson gets extra attention, I think he surpasses the 56.5.
I love that. Now, M Squared, before we jump to you, everybody in the chat, we are 33 likes away from 500. Seriously, if you could just smash that button, it's free. Hit it. We want to get to 500. We want to get to 600. We have gear that we want to give away. We want to make sure that everyone has an early edge and a Sportsline t-shirt on them at all times, right? But we got to hit that like button. Make sure to do it right now. So, M Squared, I'm going to ask you the same question. What props do you like? And I realize that this is not Major League Baseball. We're not talking about hitters and parks. But do you have a little bit of a weather update for us?
I actually haven't checked the weather in the last few hours there, but I think it's going to be fine. I think there was if anything, rain was moving in late, but overall, I don't think it's going to be a factor here. As far as props that I like, yeah, we talked about Valdez Scantling. I like the over on his yardage. I also like the over 20.5 on his longest reception. Kind of like Sia mentioned there. I think that 38 is one reception. I mean, we talk. If you're familiar with fantasy football at all or football in general, you've probably heard the term air yards. He's going to have significantly more than 38 air yards in this game. They're going to take deep shots to him, I think, early and often. I agree that they're going to have a lot of attention on Devonte Adams. Will that matter? Will that slow him down? Probably not. However, I do think it means deep shots to Valdez Scantling. So I like his over at 38. I think it's climbed all the way to 41. Good news is I have that all the way up to 60 in the simulations. And then the over 20.5 on his longest reception. And then another play that I like, again, this is a really bad number. You've already missed the good number on it. And that's going to be Jamal Williams over now 22.5 receiving yards. This was down at 17.5 this morning. Still have a meaningful edge on that one, as I think that number should be closer to 30. You really, on that one, you just need to simply ask yourself, do you think the game gets out of hand at all? If the game gets out of hand at all, this number is way, 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 way too soft, right? Just absolutely way too soft. If you think the game's ultra competitive, you think the Packers suck like they did last week, I probably wouldn't touch the Jamal number now at 22.5. However, if you think they're going to be trailing by at least 10 points anytime after halftime, I think you can fire away on that one as well.
So, you know what? You asked a good question, and I'll answer it from my perspective. I don't think that this game is going to suck. It might not be the most exciting game that we've ever seen because, honestly, look at all the primetime games we've had so far. They've all been fantastic. They've literally all been good. But I think that the Packers do show up tonight, and I have two prop plays that kind of correlate together. First one, I'm going to take the Packers team total over 30.5 at plus 100, and it's really for two reasons. What we talked about in terms of the Packers bouncing back after losses, and two, the Detroit Lions have given up 30 plus points in 7 straight games. I think that this makes sense, and we're looking at 4 touchdowns and a field goal. I think that that's doable for the Packers at home, where the crowd probably wants to see some action tonight. After that, it's the opener, season opener at Lambeau. It's going to be sold out. The crowd's going to be going nuts. And I think Matt LaFleur wants to feed them. And I think Aaron Rodgers does too. Also, I'm going to play a correlated prop bet with that. If I'm going over 30.5 points, well, I'm going to take Mason Crosby over 3.5 extra points at plus 140. Again, that means I'm looking at 4 touchdowns. I need him to hit all 4 of them, but I trust him there. If we get to 5 touchdowns, if we somehow get a defensive touchdown and get to 6, I'd feel a whole lot better. But if we could get to 4 and 4 extra points, I like it, especially at plus 140. Now, speaking of correlations, and I'm going to ask you guys this. Man, Cody Sanders here says, thoughts on Jared Goff over 1.5 touchdown passes and Lions team total over 17.5. Is that a great correlation bet? M squared, your thoughts first.
I mean, those events are certainly correlated. I do think that the Lions running backs are good enough that they could run these touchdowns in. So I'm not overly excited about playing both of them together. I think it's fine to play either one of them if you like them. And I think that they probably both get there. I think the Lions get to 20 points and scratch out 20 points in this game. So I would feel better about the 17.5 than the 2 touchdowns on Goff. But to answer the question, yes, they are correlated.
See it?
Definitely correlated, but I do agree. Like if they're inside the 7-yard line or so, they're going to be leaning on the run first and Goff second. And what I mean by that is first and second down, we're probably looking at runs, and then third down they get forced into a passing situation. I think that's sort of how the staff is going to think of Jared Goff from a passing perspective. But I don't dislike that. I think they are properly correlated, and I think fire away if you like it.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not a bad play. I go back to, I feel like we know what we're going to get out of the Packers, right? Like, I don't know what we get out of the Lions. I think I do, but I just don't know because they could score 24. Wouldn't surprise me at all. They could score 3, and it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think that the Lions are better. I think that we do get points. That's why I feel good on the over here. So we just reached 500 likes. Congratulations. Our winner, Eric Gonzalez, Mr. October 55. Mm-hmm. All right. So apparently him and Derek Jeter, they're Mr. October. I love it. I was actually born in October. So there we go. I think it's the best month that we have. No one cares about that whatsoever. Why would you? But you know what? I like you, Eric. Congratulations. You are our winner. A Sportsline Early Edge t-shirt is coming your way. Okay. We've got about just a few minutes here left, and we're going to cut it off so everybody can get out there, get some picks in, and make sure that they have all their bets played. So let's recap right here. Now, we're not going to have a graphic, but what I want to do is I want to lay it out cleanly, neatly, and efficiently. So you don't have to explain why. You just have to explain what you have. So, Sia, I'm going to start with you. Here's why. In terms of your best bets tonight, what are you on?
Yeah, so I'm on Marcus Valdez Scantling over 38.5 for the reasons both Mike and I laid out throughout the show. TJ Hawkinson over 56.5 receiving yards, and Deandre Swift over 72.5 rushing and receiving yards. Again, I think this is going to be very short and intermediate from a Lions perspective in terms of the passing by Jared Goff. So I think it's going to be a lot of Hawkinson and a lot of the two running backs.
M squared, your thoughts? Or your bets?
Yeah, I'm right there on Valdez Scantling, and I see a lot of people asking in the chat. Yes, they will be official plays for me. I'm going over on Marquez Valdez Scantling yardage. Can get that between 38.5 and 41.5 in the market. I'm also playing the over on his longest reception at 20.5 yards. Sia and I both mentioned we thought that the 38 to 40 yards is going to come on one play. I also have him to score the first touchdown in the game at plus 1,200. And then the final play that is not an official play for me is a lean. I might play it here in the next 20 minutes. It's Jamal Williams over on the receiving yards. We missed the good number at 17.5. It's up to 22.5. I do think it could be as high as 30. It's just very game script dependent, and you need to understand that for that to hit, you likely need this game to get out of hand. And by out of hand, I mean greater than 10 points after midway point of the third quarter.
So I'm on two plays. I'm on the Packers team total over 30.5 at plus 100. I'm also on a same game parlay here of Packers money line and the over of 48.5 at plus 120. So obviously it's going to be at 49.5, depending on where your book has it. But yes, I like this over, and I wanted to create myself a little bit, more value there. I think the Packers win this game. I don't think that even if they have another stinker, so to say, they have to win this game. Like, it's what we talked about, earlier this week. The Bears had to win at home against the Bengals. It might have been pretty, but they had to win that game. I feel that the Packers are in the exact same mode. They have to win this game. So Packers team total over 30.5, and then a same game parlay of the Packers money line plus the over 48.5 for me. Okay, we are about done. But what I want to do really quickly is I want to ask you guys this, because I feel the same way. You guys know better than I do, but we saw a lot of questions here in the chat. Is this a good game to tease? Okay, and M squared, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts here on a teaser in this game?
I would say yes. Just like I did last night. I know a number of the people in the chat hit the teaser last night when I basically said tease the Chiefs down and then tease the over up. So you got the Chiefs plus 3 and then the over, down a few points there as well. Same thing tonight. I would tease it to the point where you're taking 6 off of the Packers and then taking 6 off of the total. So the one time when you never tease in college football. It's fine to tease in the NFL. But when I really like to do it is in these primetime games. The market's just so much more efficient on these primetime games as it's such a standalone game, a lot more time, a lot more attention on it. That's what we want. We want efficient markets when we're teasing at 6 points. So yes, to answer that question, it is a good spot to tease it. The way that I would tease it personally, because I think the Packers are going to win this one, I would tease it -6 to the Packers, and then I bring that total down.
And we saw the jeweler this morning give out he had a teaser at -120, Packers at -5.5, and the over of 42.5. So yeah, I threw the same question to you. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I generally don't do teasers. I totally agree with Mike's sentiment about college football. I generally don't do them in the NFL either, but I do agree that it's probably a good time to tease. Again, though, for me, I'm so undecided on the total. And so given that, I guess it would make sense to tease it, right? Tease it 6 or 6.5 or 7 points, because you know it's a pretty efficient number. And if you're undecided, well, then move the total. But it's a little scary to me, because I think Detroit might be able to establish a running game just like the Saints did last week. So it scares me a bit, but I do think if you're going to tease it, I would definitely do the tease that Mike recommended. And this is a pretty good game to do it with.
I love it. All right. Right before we go, final score. See what do you got?
Ooh. Okay. Final score. I'm going to say 23-31 is your final.
Okay.
Oh,
okay.
The Packers win.
In the 50s?
Actually, you know what? Let me change that. Because I 27-20 is my final. Packers win
47 right there.
47.
All right. M squared, what do you got?
I'll take 35-20 for the Green Bay Packers.
You know what? I was going 35-17. I was right there. So, all right, I mean, we've got it right there. Like, it's going to be a pretty tight game in terms of the total. We talked about division games. They've all been double digits off of it. Yeah, we've got it pretty close there. All right. Brendan Shelby brings up, why did the betting already close at FanDuel? It's only $7.58. Look, I'm not sure. Don't know the answer there. But that's why we want to hop off to give you plenty of time to get these bets in. We cannot thank you enough for tuning in. And seriously, keep the conversation going. Let us know on Twitter how your bets are going. If you play any live bets, we certainly want to see it. M squared, he is the king of them. Yeah, I'm trying to learn from him even more on that. But seriously, thank you guys so much. I'm not going to imitate the coach because who could? But we do want to take these tickets straight to the pay window. We do want to cash these tickets tonight. Our guys have been on fire. Let's continue doing it. Everyone, have a wonderful evening. Thank you so much for tuning in with us.
Do you want best bets in your feed every single day? All you have to do is hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Early Edge.